Hello, and thank you for joining me again today on the Finding Hope After Loss podcast. Today's episode explores a question that many lost parents find themselves asking. When is surrogacy the next step after going through recurrent pregnancy loss? My guest today is Jana Taylor, who's the founder of Tandem Surrogacy. Jana's journey includes infertility related to PCOS, fertility treatments, second trimester losses, IVF, and ultimately growing her family through a gestational carrier. In this conversation, we talk about what it really feels like to reach that crossroads, the stigma surrounding surrogacy and gestational carriers, the lack of support after pregnancy loss, and how to go about making these kinds of decisions. Hello, everyone. Today I am here with Jana. Jana, can you tell us a little about yourself?
Hi, nice to meet you. My name's Jana Taylor. I am the founder of Tandem Surrogacy and a two-time lost parent. I was working for 12 years in corporate recruiting. And after my most recent loss, I just wanted to take some time for myself, kind of step back from the corporate world, focus on my family. And just kind of after going through infertility and pregnancy loss and going down the path of surrogacy, I decided I wanted to start my own surrogate agency to help other families and kind of make it more affordable, cut down costs for them, make the costs more affordable and transparent. And so that's what I do today. I have two children that are here with us. So I have a 15-year-old and a 3-year-old, and then two angel baby girls.
Do you mind sharing just a little bit about your journey?
Yeah, my husband and I got married 5 years ago, actually this past week. So we just celebrated our 5-year anniversary. So I had my 15-year-old with previous marriage. He was 9 when we got married. And that, I think he just turned 9. I'm like trying to think back.
I know.
So
Math.
yeah, I know. And it was like COVID. So everything just seemed scrambled from that time. But him and I got married 5 years ago. So my son was 9 when he kind of entered the picture. And we knew right away we wanted to have kids because we were both in our early 30s. So we're like, let's accelerate this process. So we started trying right away, and we had infertility problems. We started seeing my favorite doctor, Jessica DeRay, at Utah Fertility Center. She'll always be like near and dear to my heart because that woman's been through all of it with us. So we started seeing her at Utah Fertility Center, and she was like, I don't think you've ever ovulated. And so that was kind of like the start of that whole, kind of, all right, you have PCOS, officially diagnosed. And then we started taking fertility drugs. I took Femara and got pregnant right away. So I was like, oh, I just need to ovulate. Cool. So after ovulation, I was able to achieve a pregnancy really quick. And we were like, yay, everything's a dream. We get the blood work back. It's a girl. We have a gender reveal, all the things. And then one week, it was actually my son's birthday week. This was about a year into our marriage. And I was like, I don't feel pregnant anymore. And I told my husband that like for probably like 4 or 5 days. I was like, there's just something weird. I just don't feel, that's all the only way I could describe it. So we go into the doctor and they were like, yeah, there's no heartbeat. So we had lost our first daughter it was almost 16 weeks. They ran every test. Nothing was explained. I was able to birth her and give her like a proper funeral and everything, which that was really healing for me to be able to actually say goodbye to her, hold her, because I know a lot of parents don't get that. So through an awful experience, that's like the one thing that is kind of the bright side is like I do have somewhere I can go to visit her and have a gravesite for her. So then I'm like probably not healed at all physically or mentally. And I'm like, let's get pregnant as soon as we possibly can. So we jump back on Femara 3 months later and bam, I'm pregnant again. It's a boy. I'm just like on pins and needles the entire time. Like I'll believe it when I see it kind of thing. So, we had ups and downs with that pregnancy, but eventually give birth to him right before 39 weeks. And he's healthy, everything. Just like my first son, he had really bad GERD. So he was throwing up a lot. And it was just like so traumatic. And I bring that up because I'll make the point on that later on what was happening with him. But my first son had really bad GERD, then he had really bad GERD. And we're like, we get him to a good spot, finally get out of failure to thrive and everything. And I was just like, okay, we really want one more. Let's just have our last child and we can be done and not have any more negative experiences, right? Just get it over with, hurry up and do it. And so we try to get pregnant again. We try Femara. We do 8 rounds of Femara. It doesn't work. We do IUI. And for some reason, I'm like, I should like what worked before with the last 2 pregnancies just won't work this time. So we go back to Dr. DeRay and she's like, let's do IVF. So we moved to IVF, I'm trying to think. I think we got 3 embryos that came back, all high quality. So we picked the highest quality one. It happens to be a girl. We're like, awesome. We'd love to have a girl since we lost our last daughter. And of course, I'm like, I'm going to be super positive this time. The first embryo took, so we achieved a pregnancy. Everything looks good. And then, of course, the last note that my OB made, my maternal fetal medicine doctor made in my chart was like, very low chance of recurrent pregnancy loss this time. And then the next time they're seeing me, I'm like, it's the same thing. I don't feel pregnant. Something's wrong. And at 16 weeks, we found out that baby was also gone with no explanation again. No one could tell us what had happened. So, of course, we're devastated, but numb a little bit because we're like, well, we kind of already know how this goes, what happens. And they wanted to do a D&E, but because I had birthed the other child to our first daughter, Ella, I was like, no, I'm going to hold this baby in my arms before I bury her. So we named her Eliana. So our first loss was Ella. And then we were like, we want to put something in her name to like carry on her sister a little bit. So their names are kind of similar. And we'll call her Ellie, but has a similar name. So that was kind of before we knew we lost her too. So those are our daughters, Ella and Ellie. And after that, it was just clear to us, like working with the doctors, maternal fetal medicine, like probably don't try again. I'm getting older. They don't really know what the problem is. They can't fix it. And so that's when Dr. DeRay was like, I think we need to be talking surrogate. And so as we kind of went through all of the different options with surrogacy and even, we had considered adoption and foster care and what that would look like. And it just, as we kind of got down that path, we just figured this was the best for us. And I know other people have awesome experiences with foster care and adoption. And I was like, I can't have someone change their mind on me last minute. We can't have any more devastating news. And so that's why surrogacy seemed like the right choice for us. And we're like, hey, we already have embryos. Like everything kind of lines up that way. And so we went down that path. We talked to a lot of different agencies and things. And then ultimately met our surrogate on a Facebook page. So we met somehow miraculously. She met all of the qualifications from the clinic. They follow certain guidelines to make sure that it's safe and ethical. So kind of drew up all the contract stuff. And baby girl's coming in June. So
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm still on pins and needles, but
no, I understand. I was just gonna say that's not the first time I've heard that someone has just met like on a Facebook page like that and it's just worked out so perfectly. I just think those things are fate, like not coincidence, but
yeah. Yeah, I definitely think so too. Just kind of everything that like lined up perfectly for it to all happen. I'm like, that was not just, that was like meant to be,
Yeah.
right? So, yeah. And then I'll mention this too, because I recently had a surgery and they were like, oh, wow, do you know you have Ehlers-Danlos? And I was like, I don't know what that is. What are you talking about? And they're like, well, we got in there and all your joints are like these loose rubber band looking things and they don't really like hold everything together. So I'm still like at the tip of the iceberg of researching this and what it means. And like, I don't know if they know everything about pregnancy loss because obviously it's under researched, but that could be a medical explanation. And then also makes sense for why my kids are so pukey and all that stuff. So I'm still figuring it out, but it's like, okay, good thing I didn't just try again because we could have had the same outcome again. And now I feel like more safety with my baby being carried by someone else who is has a history of delivering healthy babies. So we're still like on pins and needles, but a pregnancy goes faster when it's not me, the one being pregnant. So that's nice.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah. And that's so hard too when you have when you're diagnosed with something that first of all you never even heard of and you're diagnosed,
Yeah.
after your losses and so then it's hard to know like did this play a factor? Like, yeah, I mean, it's just a lot of questioning and researching and I mean, at least I know that's what
Yeah.
I would do for sure.
Yeah. And I think as like the lost community and as I meet more people through different foundations and stuff, and just even random moms at the playground, right? We want like an explanation. We want to be like, why did this happen to me? So I think even if it's not the reason, I like still am like, oh, maybe it could be the reason. And there's some sort of peace in that. And then it's validation of like, okay, I have guilt for not being the one to carry my baby. And like, I want to do all the things. I want to breastfeed. And then I'm like, this is the way to get her here safely.
So when the doctor first brought up surrogacy, I mean, what were your initial thoughts on it? Did it take you some time to come around to it, or were you just,
Oh, yeah. 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 I think I'm also really action oriented. So I'm like, okay, just get this done. Let's do it. Whatever is going to get our baby here. But then you like think about it for a minute and you're like, wait, what? Like someone else is going to do this thing that I was supposed to be born to do? And you have like all these mixed feelings between like, wow, I'm so grateful that someone else is willing to do this for me. And then you go like, I can't trust that someone else is going to do it the way I would do it and eat vegetables and, all the things that you're like, oh, I'm so freaked out by all of this. So it took a lot of like time and therapy. And there's a lot of waiting in between, like, okay, we need to analyze her medical benefits and we need to do a physical and she needs to go get a pap smear. And so you have to like jump through all of these hoops as you're kind of waiting for her to get all of the clearance to prep for IVF and transfer the embryo. So I was doing a lot of processing during that time and a lot of therapy and just checking in with myself and honestly like a lot of praying and just yeah, it's a lot to process. I think back to like when Dr. Dre was like, you haven't ovulated this whole time when we were trying for our first child. And I'm just like, wow, that was like I thought that was the worst news. And then like you get to where we got to and you're like, okay, surrogate. Wow, there is worse news, but it could turn out to be something great. And then you get into it and you research it and you're like, some surrogates or gestational carriers is probably the more correct term, get into it and they're like part of your family and it's this really beautiful story. And so, yeah, I just found peace in like, this is another mom who wants to help a mom who can't do it for herself. So it took a while to get there.
I mean, I can't imagine that that's an easy choice to make. It's not like
No.
it's, oh, I'm going to take the easy way out and use a surrogate, like it's that grief you have of not being able to carry again and, all of those things that people probably don't think about if they haven't gone through that themselves.
Yeah, I agree. And I think back to times where I've seen like celebrities get surrogates and gestational carriers and like, oh, that's so crazy. And oh, they just want to keep their body nice. Or, you have all these preconceived notions. And then it happens to you and you're like, oh, I get it. Okay, well, we're doing this. And so, yeah, I think I'm sure there's a lot of people that are like, oh, I would never do that. But they're not faced with that difficult choice of it's, the impossible. What do I try to carry again and then have another second trimester loss where they're like, oh, good luck getting into the third trimester or getting to viability or yeah, just there's no monitoring, there's no intervention that could change the outcome. And so, yeah, and I think there's a lot with women's health that's understudied. And so we just, yeah, we do our best with the decisions we're faced with. And sometimes it leads to here.
I know sometimes you look back on, everything you've gone through and it's like, wow, like you were saying, I never thought this is where I would be. I
Yeah.
mean, did you ever expect that you would go through everything that you have gone through to get to this point?
Oh, I had no idea. And you look at other people who have gone through it and you're like, how did you keep going? Or we meet other families in the loss community and you're like, oh, 5 losses. Oh, I could never go with, I could never get to that point of 5 losses. Or, you look at other people's stories, but then, when you're in it yourself, you just have to take it day by day and you have no idea what news you're going to get tomorrow or the next day. And so it's literally just, yeah, you just put one foot in front of the other and make one decision day by day. And it kind of turns out to where it leads you and your own different path. So, yeah, I never expected it, but I'm happy to like still have the opportunity because if you think about even like our parents' generation, they didn't really have this option and IVF was even still new. So my parents struggled with infertility and it would take them like 4 and 5 years to get pregnant. One of my sisters, the gap between two of my sisters is 6 years. So it wasn't like they had a ton of options and they just were like, well, we just kind of kept trying. And, their first and their last were 15 years apart. So it is, at least we do have the option where we can be like, okay, what are our choices here? We have this choice. Can we make it happen? And somehow, some way, you meet someone on a Facebook group and it all works out.
So I know one of your living children is older and the other one you said is 3 right now.
Yeah, that's right.
How do you explain this situation to them?
Yeah, that's a great question because it's so different with children that are 12 years apart. So my oldest son, he was obviously at that age where he was like excited to get a baby sister with our first lost baby and that, I felt a lot of guilt because that devastated him. She passed and going through, the grieving process and a funeral and things like that. And then watching him take a little while to bond to our son, his other brother. And so that made it hard. And then with our 3-year-olds, obviously it's very different. We go to the grave site and the girls are buried together now. And we go there and obviously with, birth dates, death dates, all of that stuff, due dates, things like that, different holidays that we go stop by. So our older son understands that a lot more, but our 3-year-old, not as much. He just wants to play and he'll like say hi to baby sisters. And he understands that like we're getting another baby soon and it's going to be his best friend. But yeah, it makes it hard because I don't, we're all just doing our best. And I don't know how much to tell him, even with baby sister on the way. Like, oh no, what if this ends in tragedy too? And I have to tell him, oh, there's no more baby sister, or never mind, you're not going to get your little friend. So yeah, it's hard because I think even like me, my husband, and my teenager, we all have just grieved in such a different way. And so just like holding space and asking questions and keeping them close to us, different things that we put out for Christmas and little stockings for them. And yeah, there's no right or wrong way to do it, I think.
Yeah, I feel like, none of us have been through it before. We all just do the best we can. There's
Yeah.
no script, there's no like, this is how you do it. So, yeah, we
Yeah.
all just have to do, like you said, the best we can do.
Yeah. And there's an awesome nonprofit here in Utah, Share Parents, who they do different like activities. And they did Santa photo shoot where they, were able to include the girls and things like that. And so, yeah, we do our best and we bring them to those different events, and we want to support other families who have been through the same or, similar things to us. But yeah, like you said, we're just doing our best.
So I know you kind of mentioned earlier, in regards to like celebrities and stuff, how there's a lot of misconceptions and things about, gestational carriers. Did you face any criticism or insensitive comments for choosing to go that route?
Yeah, I would say most people are pretty supportive, but I think I just got a lot of like, well, why not adoption? There are so many children out there who need good homes, and you could have gone this other route. And then a lot of just curious folks like, what if she decides to keep the baby? And you're like, no, that doesn't happen. It's not baby. And then you have to explain, like, especially to the older generation and to like our parents, their parents. It's like, no, it's our egg and, our embryo, I should say. And then it's placed into the gestational carrier. So I'm like, did they think I like had my husband get her pregnant? I'm not sure.
I hope not.
I know. So you have to laugh to yourself and be like, oh, bless their hearts. They just don't get it.
They're trying.
Yeah, they're not going to keep my baby. But yeah, I think, it's like, it's just so personal. And like, I do feel like it was kind of a divine thing that everything lined up where our doctors are telling us gestational carrier, and somehow we meet this person who's like, oh, I was going to do it for my sister, but then she was able to achieve a pregnancy on her own and she didn't need me anymore, but I still want to help someone. And then she's like, okay, you're a perfect fit, I'm a perfect fit, this is great. And then again, like somehow they magically get through all of these checkpoints and everything medically checks out. And so we were like, well, this feels like the right thing for us. And I think most of the adoption question, when that came to me and my husband deciding that, it was just like, what if she changes her mind? Because you can go all the way up to the birth, and we get to that point and she could see that cute new baby and be like, never mind, I'm going to keep them. And we'd be devastated all over again. And so I just was like, I don't think we can take the heartbreak. So that was kind of how we ended up on this path. But yeah, we still get the like adoption question. And I think like for just like, I guess, advice for other people, it's fine to just be like, this isn't open for discussion at this time, or this was the path that felt right for us. And we don't feel like talking about it further, to just shut down the conversation, because I think people have good intentions, but what's best for you. And yeah, that's how we ended up here at the end of the day. And it's like, we felt like everything kind of led to this path, even when we couldn't get pregnant with our second daughter. Why did we end up with these embryos? So we're like, okay, we already have the embryos. They're just waiting there for this purpose. And so that's kind of just, yeah, why we were like, all right, this is what we're doing. This feels right.
And so I know you mentioned like going through the process that there are areas that you found lacking. So what were those, and like what kind of led you to wanting to create your own surrogacy agency?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think as I kind of talked to different agencies, some of them were like, oh, yeah, we have this 18-month waiting list. And we're like, oh my gosh, we'll be in our 40s by then. Like, that just seems so daunting. And then, you wait for 18 months, and then you get like, you have a baby a year after the wait, and you're like, oh my gosh, that just doesn't feel right. Or we talked to another agency that like was dead serious, looked us in the eye and was like, okay, in order to have a baby with us, it's $460,000. And we were like,
Like, I'm
what?
not buying a house. I don't know.
Literally.
Oh my gosh.
And I mean, surrogacy is expensive, right? Like, you have to pay for IVF, you have to pay for the embryo implantation, those kinds of things. You need to compensate your surrogate. You need to even put medical insurance on your surrogate, because a lot of insurance policies don't cover gestational surrogacy when you're having a baby for someone else. There's all these different costs. So it's not like, it's like, oh, it's so affordable now just because I went with this other agency. So it's still, $150,000 to $175,000 is kind of typically what you're going to pay. But the reason why I wanted to create my own agency was because I wanted more transparent pricing. I wanted to make sure that it's safe and ethical. And Utah's a great place for gestational surrogacy because a lot of the people here don't smoke, they don't drink, they have healthy lifestyles. And so, kind of a great place to have a gestational surrogate. We also have pre-birth orders here, just like some of the other states like California, where you can establish that's your baby before they're ever born. So it's a very surrogate friendly state. And I just felt like this was something I wanted to do to help other parents. My background fits really well with it, also because I did 12 years of recruiting. So that's kind of what you're doing, is just matching surrogates with families and making sure that they get through all the qualifications, get through the entire process. And just also being a lost parent, I understand what it's like for the parents that come to my agency and are like, we've had all of this devastating news. We just want a baby. So being able to help people is really rewarding that way. So yeah, I think just mostly it's like transparent pricing, quick and somewhat affordable process, right? It's not like the cheapest thing in the world, but it's definitely not like some of the quotes that we got when we were talking to agencies, and we're able to just help families more fast and effectively. And it's kind of just, yeah, it's a really fulfilling job, I would say.
I mean, I'm curious, how do you start that? I mean, because you get this idea, but how do you even go about like starting something like that?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm very like business minded, I guess. I am like pretty well connected with different people who helped me kind of set it up, as far as like the systems, the processes, the legal aspect, and the just like the structure. And so, as far as like everything we did to get it set up, it's a big investment, right? But I felt like it was just like such a higher calling for me that I was like, I'll jump over any hurdle. And kind of, I've been able to do other smaller businesses before this that kind of led to this. So again, I just feel like it was a divine thing to where I was able to put all the pieces together of everything I've done in the past and make this happen. And yeah, it's been really awesome and really great to like interact with the parents that we have and the carriers who are just like the nicest people and so willing just to do this amazing, crazy thing for like they get compensated, but you're like, for us lost parents, I feel like you could not pay me enough to do that job. So they're just like absolutely amazing. And then you get to interact with these parents who are like, we had this devastating thing happen, or my wife lost her uterus, or we're a gay couple and we've always wanted to be dads. So it's just, yeah, it's really awesome.
Yeah, I can imagine that's so incredibly fulfilling, like way more fulfilling than, corporate jobs that so many
Yeah,
so many of
I
us have to
know.
work at.
I know. I'm like, I loved being in the corporate world. I learned so much, but you're just like hiring someone to work at this company that they'll be at for 3 to 5 years and then moving on and next. And so this is like something where you're like, I'm really building this long-term network of people who, have been in my shoes or willing to help people in my shoes. And it's just really, yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, life-changing for so many.
Yes. Yes.
So do you have any, words of advice or anything for people who are maybe at the beginning of the surrogacy progress or process or considering surrogacy?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I just keep all of your options open, and then it will kind of become clear to you on what the path is for you. And I kind of said it earlier, but I think like a lot of times we're just so overwhelmed with all this information. You're like, oh, I don't even know what to do. And it's just one day at a time, like one decision at a time, and gathering as much information as you can. And you'll kind of know what's right for you and your family.
So if people are wanting to find out more about your agency, do you have a website or another place they could go to look for that?
Yeah, it's just tandemsurrogacy.com. So yeah, all the information's on there. We just updated our site, so I'm really proud of it right now. It looks really great.
That's always an undertaking to do those
Oh
those
yeah.
updates.
Yeah, I did it over the holidays because I was like, well, we have a little time off and my husband could kind of help with kids and stuff. And yeah, so it was like a chaotic month last month, but we launched the site. It looks really good. And it's got some really good information, FAQs on there. We have a blog that you can look at as well. And so, yeah, check that out. You can contact us on there. And yeah, appreciate it.
Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your story and about everything that you're doing to help other families.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. It was great being here.
Thank you so much, Jana, for sharing your story with us. If today's episode resonated with you, here's one thing that you can do after listening. Simply check in with yourself and name one feeling that came up. You don't have to fix it or explain it. Just simply name it and notice it. You can write it down, say it out loud, or simply sit with it for a moment. Sometimes the most meaningful step isn't making a decision, but just giving yourself permission to feel and notice what's already there. If this conversation felt helpful, please consider sharing the episode with someone who might need it, or leave a review on Apple or Spotify. Thank you so much for tuning in, and remember, we are all in this together.